everybody. Welcome to the Hallmarkies Podcast. And we're really excited today because we have the star of the new movie coming to UPTV this weekend, Love on Retreat. We have Ansley Gordon here with us. And Ansley, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. This is such a big moment for me because, which I told you I wouldn't tell you until we were on air.
Yes.
So when I decided I wanted to, because I've always been an actor, but when I decided I wanted to be a screenwriter, I knew that I wanted to write these feel-good love stories, and I didn't know where to start. So I listened to so many podcasts, and I went on Apple Podcasts and typed in Hallmark movie podcast, and yours is the first one that comes up.
Oh, yay. That's good to know.
Yeah. So this was in 2019, and I did a deep dive. I listened to every Anna White, Nina Weinman, like all of your wonderful writers, so I can learn how they did it. And it was so helpful for me.
Yay.
That was 2019, and then I sold my first script in 2020.
What was your first script?
It was called A Bridesmaid in Love on UPTV. It came out last year.
Yeah. Wow, that's so cool. I love that. Well, I mean, we have always championed the writers on this podcast. In fact, the first interview we ever did was with a writer, was with Nina. It was the very first interview that we ever did. Back in 2000. It was back in 2017.
Yeah. Okay. Then I definitely did. I did listen to that.
Yeah.
I went all the way back. And so when you reached out yesterday, that's why my reaction was like, oh my gosh. Because you played such a big part in the beginning of my career.
I love hearing that. That's so cool. That's awesome. Okay. Well, I'll have to watch that one. I don't think I caught it. I try to watch all the UPTVs, but there's so many. It's hard to keep track.
There's so many, and there's so many networks now. Like many.
Yeah. Well, since it's your first time on the podcast, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about how you got started as far as acting?
Great. Yeah. So my name is Ansley Gordon, and I am an actress and a screenwriter based in Los Angeles. I've been acting for literally my whole life. I did a play when my dance studio partnered with a regional theater to do The Wizard of Oz, and they needed kids with stage presence. So me at 4, I'm like, I am a star. And my dad was like, okay, sit down, you can audition. So I auditioned, and I realized that my age group were the poppies, and they didn't have as big of a role.
Right.
The next age group up were the munchkins, and they were on stage the whole freaking time. Right. So I gotta be a munchkin. So at my audition, I asked the director, I know my age group is poppies, but could I be a munchkin? And he was like, okay, I mean, if we cast you, whatever, sure. So we did it. I got cast, but I only got cast as a poppy. And I was so upset. And I went to the first audition and like marched up to this director in this like equity theater and was like, excuse me, sir. You told me if I got the job, I could be both. And he was like, okay, yeah, no, you can be both, but we need you to be a poppy for numbers. So you have to be both. And I was thrilled to just be on stage. And I was the bossy kid who, if the other kids were not in character.
Yeah.
That was at 4.
So cute.
So dramatic. So that was at 4, and I don't know how long that show ran. But a couple years later, that same theater was doing The King and I, and they couldn't find anybody for the youngest daughter for their run of it. And the director called my dad and was like, is Ansley around? And at this point, I'm like 9, and I'm like, Dad, this means I got the job. And he was like, no, it means you got the audition. And went in, and like, I distinctly remember the audition. I remember where it was. I remember how I felt. And I was like, I am a star. You will hire me. And they did. They gave me the job.
So that's so cute. I'm so jealous because when I was little, it was like the exact opposite. Like I wanted to be the star of everything, and I never got like anything. I was so envious one year.
It hasn't happened like that since.
It was the greatest challenge of my young life. When my best friend got the role of Meg in Our Town over me, and I was so jealous.
Yeah. That's tough. When I was in high school, I didn't get cast in like any of the shows.
Yeah.
And I auditioned for all of them, and it was like till my senior year. So out of that, I kept dancing, and I started doing community theater. And then when I was 12, I got like a little agent, but I didn't do a lot because I had siblings. I'm the oldest of 4. And
Uh-huh.
when I was in high school, or right before I started high school, my grandma, Mimi, who is no longer with us, but was a very big part of my life, she started taking me to auditions. And she didn't have AC. I'm from Florida. She didn't have AC in her car. And it's like July. And we're driving with like the windows down. I'm sweating. She picked me up from school. I have my headshots and I have hyperhidrosis, so my hands are sweaty. So I'm like trying not to disintegrate my headshot. Like when we're
You're
driving.
like sticking to the back of the chair.
Literally, you stand up and like the back of your shorts are wet.
Oh my gosh.
But so that started like professional auditioning, and I did
Yeah.
little commercials, and I did some like short films. And then really in like late high school and early college, I got started in the film industry, and I was lucky enough to mostly pay for college acting. And I moved out here right after I graduated, and it's been a ride.
Yeah. So are you in Vancouver or
In LA.
in LA? Okay, in LA.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's great. I was gonna ask, like, were you a munchkin? Because I saw on your
Yeah.
IMDb.
Oh, I want to change that. I don't know who put that there or how to take it off. I want.
It's
God,
cute. It gives
so there's
character. People have the most boring IMDb's. I like people that have some personality in their
and
IMDb
people can ask. So
bios.
what role were you in the Wizard? Well, I was two roles. Thank you for asking.
Yeah. Well, you have been on a roll with these rom-coms. I think I counted that you've been in 8 in the last 2 years. That is
Yeah.
amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been great. And then on the script side, I have my wall of like all my movies that I've written that have been produced.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so and my office is a mess. Sorry to my office. It's winter, we're hibernating. But yeah, 8 as a number one, and then 15 or 16 as the writer produced so far.
That's incredible. Ho, ho, ho. We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies Podcast, especially at Christmas?
Do you enjoy the holiday previews, recaps, interviews, and bonus episodes?
If the answer is yes, please consider supporting the Hallmarkies Patreon. We need your help to do what we do both during the Christmas season and all year round.
But not only do you help a podcast led by strong, independent women by becoming a Patreon, you get to become a part of the Hallmarkies family.
Starting at only $2 a month as a patron, you will have access to our Facebook Patreon group where we talk about the movies, shows, and more all year.
We also have many monthly patron watch-alongs with guests like Lacey Chabert, Natalie Hall, Paul Campbell, Mary Lou Henner, and more, giving their behind-the-scenes details of their films.
As a patron, you also have the chance to provide input into the podcast and even join us at different tiers.
So this Christmas season, spread some cheer to the Hallmarkies Patreon and become a member today. You won't regret it.
Go to patreon.com/Hallmarkies to learn more.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies. What is it that you love about doing rom-coms? What do you think special about rom-coms?
I love love. So it's
Yes.
the right genre for me.
Uh-huh.
Whenever I try to write something that's not romantic, it always ends up having like a romantic subplot, because I think everything at the end of the day comes back to love, right? Like
Yeah.
everything. And it doesn't have to be romantic love. It can be love with a best friend. It can be love with a pet. It can be love with a grandparent. Like that, I think, is such a beautiful part of being alive. And so with these, I didn't start acting in them. I started writing them.
Yeah.
And one of the producers I was working with saw me on a Zoom and like how bubbly and whatever I am. And he looked me up and was like, "Oh, you're an actor. Do you want to be in one?" And I was like, "Yes, I just didn't know how to ask." So yeah, that's how that started.
Yeah. Did you grow up watching a lot of rom-coms?
Yes, but more of like the traditional stuff, like the 27 Dresses and the How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. That's one of my favorite movies of all time. How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. 13 Going on 30. That's another big one that I love.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are good ones. I like those. So you have been in a ton of movies with Jonathan Stoddard.
Yes.
And that must be fun to keep working with the same person.
Yeah, and
get that chemistry.
A great friend. Yeah, and like so before we did Love on Retreat, that was our first one together. Before we did Love on Retreat, my husband and him had side jobs together in LA. And so my husband knew him before we started. And so it was like a cool little circle to walk into of like, "Oh, you already know my husband and we're already like connected and whatever." And he's
and you were in Baked with a Kiss. and
Yeah,
Christmas
also coming
Frequency
up TV.
also with him.
Yes. And so A
Yeah.
Christmas Frequency was very interesting because I wrote and produced that one too.
Okay.
So that one went through like so many iterations, and we originally had a very prominent Hallmark actress attached, and I did development with her on the project, and we took it to Hallmark, and it was height of COVID, and they said no because of COVID. So I got the rights to the script back, and then it went to another, but I wrote it for COVID. If you watch the movie,
I was
there's
going to say, why would they reject it because of COVID? It's mostly in the studio.
they had cut lots of their slate down because they were just coming out of lockdown, and they had a backlog of other stuff to do.
Oh, okay.
And I was a new writer. They didn't know me. There wasn't anything that was really exciting, but that was going on at the same time as A Bridesmaid in Love. And then I got the rights back. It went to a director. She wasn't able to get it off the ground. And then Vanessa Shapiro at Nicely Entertainment read it and was like, I love this. I want to make it. And I was like, cool, I want to star in it. So
yeah.
Can I please? And so we went through the process and like pre-sold it to Hulu and everything, which was just a dream come true. And then when we were casting for the guy, because Denise Richards and I have such a big age gap, we needed somebody who could realistically date both of us. And we looked at everyone. And it's not that I didn't want John for the job because he's great. He's so freaking talented. But I was like, we've done 97 movies together. I need footage with a different man. But at the end of the day, he was the best person for the job.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it never really crossed my mind that there was like a big, that it was a good choice because it wasn't like I was like, oh, this doesn't make sense for him to be with either one. So I think it was a good choice.
Good. I'm glad it didn't feel weird.
Yeah, because so you were in Baked with a Kiss with Jonathan.
Yes.
And so that must have been fun to work together on that one.
Yeah, so we did Love on Retreat, and then I went straight to Miami and did Love on the Reef, which I don't know. But that's one that I wrote, and that was my first time #1 in a movie that I wrote. And then went back and did Baked with a Kiss. And
so that was the order. Okay.
Yeah. And I think John was doing like, I don't know, 4 movies at that time. And so we have a movie separate in Baked with a Kiss. And so when I was filming,
he's amazing. His IMDb, he has 14 upcoming projects.
I know. And he's filming one right now with Brianna. So Brianna, who plays my boss in Love on Retreat, they're doing a Christmas movie together right now.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, the man is busy.
He is.
Holy cow.
In place for more than like 3 days.
Yeah.
So Baked with a Kiss, he would like do his scenes and then he'd fly and he'd go do another movie for a couple of days and he'd come back and I'd be like, hey, how were your days off? He's like, oh, I was in Nashville and then I went to Vancouver and then I was whatever. And I was like, oh, I took a nap. Okay, great.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're trying to make us all look bad.
No, I know.
But yeah, so I was going to ask about Christmas Frequency. I mean, working with Denise Richards and everything. And I didn't realize that you wrote that. That's cool.
Yeah, it was really, so Frasier is my favorite show. Like one of my favorites of all time.
Right.
So I was watching it during lockdown and was like, I'm going to put into a rom-com. And my husband was like, go for it. I would totally watch that. And it was before I really got into like the formula. So it's a little different than the usual formula, which I kind of like, and I'm back into writing.
I do too.
Now. Yeah.
Well, I love the formula movies, of course, especially, when they're done well and there's witty banter and that's great, but it's also good to, to have the variety as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Definitely. And you had to be careful because sometimes friends to lovers plot lines, it can just be like, come on, how clueless is this guy or girl that doesn't realize that the best friend is in love with him. And it kind of had to walk that line with in that movie because she was pretty obviously like smitten with Jonathan's character, but I guess because they worked together, I think it was maybe easier to sort of hide it.
Yeah. And I think they weren't friends for like years and they weren't friends for a long period. Like they weren't.
Yeah.
I like when I'm writing the friends to lovers for them to have something in their past that was like, nope, roadblock. This is why we will never be together. Because that explains why in the future. But because they were so newly acquainted and working in the same building and whatever, that there wasn't time to put up a misunderstanding from when they were 16,
Right. Yeah.
But I think adding in, I'm totally spoiling the movie. So if you have not seen it, please skip 30 seconds. Adding in the layer of her thinking that she was being baited by him to go out with Brooke.
Right.
And not having the altercation face to face.
Yeah.
And instead of internalizing, which is something I do all the time, I'll like hang up the phone and be like, oh my God, that person hates me. The person hates me. They did this. I'm so annoying. And the next time I talk to them, I'm like, I'm so sorry for whatever. And they're like,
right.
What are you talking about?
Yeah. They've like completely moved on and it's been living in your head for. Yeah. That happens all the time. I remember this is just a silly example, but I remember this one time when I was living with my sister, and I'd gone to Costco, and it's so hard to go to Costco and not spend like $200. It's just really hard. And and so I had done that, and I was like, oh, my sister's gonna be so annoyed that I spent all this money and whatever, and so I like you do this kind of back and forth. This is what she's gonna say, and this is what I'm gonna say, and back and forth. Yeah. And then she comes home, and she was like, oh, great, thanks for going shopping. And I was just like, oh, I spent this much. Oh, great, thanks for doing that. And it was just one of those things where it's like, oh, okay, I need to stop doing that.
The torture we put ourselves through.
Yeah.
Today's episode of the podcast is sponsored by W Rated, the podcast where we willingly watch the world's worst rated movies. Join me, Daisy.
And me, Claire, as we break down the IMDb bottom 100, choosing a different film from the list every episode.
We take a deep dive into the plot, production, release, and reviews, usually with a special guest, to uncover if these films are truly as bad as everyone says they are.
You can find us on Spotify, Apple, Good Pods, and anywhere else you find your podcasts.
Let's talk about Love on Retreat.
Yeah.
Was this filmed in Florida?
Yes, it was. Okay. Yeah. So we filmed it. It was a cold snap in January. It was 32 degrees.
Oh my gosh.
It was freezing. Like freezing. There is a scene, I don't want to spoil it, but there's a scene where I'm outside in a sundress and the sun rises. And it was the first scene we filmed. They had like propane heaters for the crew, and I'm over there in the sundress with the wind, and I have to do this like emotional scene and not be like, I'm,
Yeah.
So I'm like convulsing, and then our director, Brittany, who is so amazing, she was like, okay, so, action. And I like stopped shaking and did the scene. And then as soon as we were done, the rest of the cast wasn't there because I'm alone in the scene. I went into the house where we were filming, and John and Brianna and Meg were there. And they were like, are you okay? And I was just convulsing so much from like how freezing it was. My body has never shook like that everywhere. So yes, we did film in Florida, but it was freezing. And we filmed like on the beach, and we filmed all around Clearwater, and we worked with the Clearwater, I want to say their film commissioner, and we got to work with really cool people. And I'm from Florida, so my parents came up on our day off of filming, and it was really nice. We filmed Baked with the Kids in the same area.
Okay. Were you at like it looked like a nice resort?
We were at a house. At a
house. Okay.
Yeah. It's actually 2 houses, but yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's good. And it must be nice not only having a female director for one of these rom-coms, but having a director that's also an actress has got to be nice.
Yes. And
Brittany
is amazing. Excuse me. I have my like winter cold, so sorry if I'm clearing my throat. Brittany is she communicates exactly what she needs to every single person. So if she's talking to an actor, she knows how to do that. If she's talking to a producer, she knows how to do that. If she's talking to a DP because she wants the lighting a different way, she knows how to do that. Like she knows how to speak everyone's language. So she gets exactly what she needs from the shot. And it's such an art that not all directors have. And working with her was just like a dream come true. She's amazing.
Yeah. So if you went to this retreat, how would you feel about having to give up your phone?
Oh,
I wouldn't do well. I would not.
I think I would probably react just like I tried to implement some healthy habits. Like I stopped sleeping with my phone in the bedroom for a little while. No, it has made its way back into the bedroom, but for a couple months I did it without sleeping with my phone in the bedroom. But no, I don't think I would do well.
No, me either. I guess we should go backtrack a little bit. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about what the movie is about?
Sure. So it is about Jenny, who is a kind of like an assistant to the owner of a big beauty brand, who is kind of like Gwyneth Paltrow. So she is working for her and doing a lot of the assistant things, but also growing their social media, and they don't have a full social media team. So they're going on this corporate retreat, and she wants to show her on this retreat why she should be the head of social media. And the boss says, sure, yeah, I'll consider you, but I need to see that you can embody the brand, the wellness, the self-care, the balance, all the things Jenny does not have. At the same time, she's kind of crushing on the activities director, who is the boss's brother. And there's another candidate up for the job that I won't spoil who she is. But there becomes some tension in this retreat.
Yeah. So where are you at on yoga? Are you a yoga fan, yoga person? Because there's quite a few scenes in yoga in this.
Yeah. So I love yoga. But pre-COVID, I was going like 3 times a week to my hot yoga studio. I loved it. I haven't been as consistent, but yeah, there was a lot of stuff in here that I was like, oh, this is actually like what I would do. I love green juice. There's a joke in the movie that Jenny hates green juice. And when Brittany, our director, went to the grocery store before we started shooting and brought it back to our hotel. And she was like, what do you want? I was like, can you get me some green juice? And she thought it was a joke because of the script, because Jenny hates green juice. And I was like, no, like seriously, I love it.
Well, I was going to ask, because there's the flirty smoothie making scene.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I'm putting a little this, and then you have to drink it. You're like, oh, yeah. And I can't stand that. I mean, I love smoothies, but I can stand that green stuff.
Really? I love it. But I like things that taste like dirt. I should totally get out, but like, I love beets. I love yeah. There's actually a blooper. I can send it to you. There's a blooper of doing that scene. Where I'm drinking the juice.
It's like drinking grass. I know.
Yeah.
No. I like beets. So
yeah.
I've had a few when they put in enough like pineapple and enough sweetness.
Ginger hides everything.
Yeah.
Ginger and you're good. But we're filming that scene, and Brittany knows that I like comedy and I'm a comedic actress, and she was like, really go for it. Do whatever you want. And I took a drink and I spit it out back into the cup. And John and Brianna and Meg all like lost it, but they were trying not to crack because everyone was on camera, and I have like green juice going down my face, and I like spit it back in the cup, and I'm trying to it's so ridiculous. Didn't make it.
One of the themes of the movie is: are you a planner or spontaneous? Or are you spontaneous?
I think when I was younger, I was a big planner, and I still am. Like my day planner is color coded, and I still have one that you hand write in, and like stuff's purple. My husband's stuff's orange. Our cats are blue. So like I can keep everything organized, but I don't schedule the way I used to. Like I would wake up and say, oh, I have this interview with Rachel at 10, and then from 10 to 11, and then at 11, I'm going to put laundry away, and then I'm going to go to walk, and I'm going to do the thing, and then I'm going to whatever. Like I don't do that anymore.
Yeah. Well, it's hard being a creative in that way, because you can only plan so much, because you might get a call this weekend. Oh, I've got to come do this film. So you can't. So I get that. The thing I guess about spontaneity that I think is a little overrated is that I think that the planning is often the most fun part of like
true.
Whatever the activity is, like putting it all together and making like cute little favors, and I don't know, just like having fun, like with the planning can be, and I am like glued to my calendar, on my phone. If I, this is why I would not have fun giving up my phone, because I need it. Because I have like every hour of every day kind of scheduled. And if I ever, if I have to go without a phone, it's not pretty. It's bad.
My husband works for Beats by Dre. And so he's in the tech space, and he's trying so hard to get me into like the Apple Calendar or like a Google Calendar, so we can like stuff. I cannot for the life of me figure it out. Nope, I cannot. I am 30 years old and that technology is above me. I can't. I'm done.
We have to get you on board. I'm with your husband on this because it just makes life so much better. Because you can get you can get alarms and notifications for everything so that you're on time to everything. And
that's why you write it in your day planner. I will literally be
your day planner is not going to notify you. It won't send you an alarm saying
that's so true. I will literally be out somewhere and I'll call my husband and be like, hey, so can you take a picture of my planner? I forgot, da 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 da. And he's like, Ansley. I'm like, sorry, can you just send me a picture real quick?
Yeah, I'm team husband on this one. But yeah, and I don't know, I just think that a lot of times it can be kind of a little bit anxiety, with like the spontaneity thing. It's just like, and then I feel like you end up making like not as good choices.
Yes.
Let's just go somewhere to eat. And then you pick like, oh, not as good a place as if I had like planned it out and thought about it.
Yes. I couldn't agree more. We tried the spontaneity version when we went to Hawaii last year because we'd been to the island we went to a few times. And we were like, it's cool. We don't have to plan anything. We know. No. We didn't know when anything was closed. We didn't know when anything was open. So like we didn't plan for like, oh, this restaurant's closed on Monday, so we're gonna eat here. Like we didn't. It ended up like missing out on stuff and wasting time. And
that's right. It's true. This is very, very true. All right. So you get options for like fun things that you're gonna do. This adventurous in the movie. You can go zip lining. You can go parasailing. You can go on an excursion in the Everglades, and where you're up close to alligators. And so I'm just curious, out of those, and tandem bike riding you do at a point. So which one would you be most likely to do in real life?
So I have done most of them
yes.
in real life because I'm from Florida.
Yeah.
I think my favorite is zip lining. Zip lining's a lot of fun if it's not too high, because sometimes they're really high. We did one, was in Vancouver, and it was really, and I looked at the ground, I was like, I didn't have a will. Like, I don't, and my husband's like, you don't need a will to go fine. So yeah, but like with the alligator and the fan boat, that kind of thing. Yeah. I grew up like on water with alligators in the backyard. So it's just like, and I went to UF with gators like literally on our campus. So like when I read the script, I was like, that's so funny because that's such a like non-Floridian thing to be afraid of.
I mean, for me, it would definitely be the parasailing because I mean, I love anything with the ocean. Is like my favorite. And
have you been parasailing?
Have I been what?
Have you been parasailing?
No, I've never been parasailing, but I'd like to. I'd like to. That sounds fun.
It's really
I love anything with the water. I mean, I'm just like a water person, and so just the whole day would be kind of fun. And then you get the time on that would be. I think that would feel pretty cool being up there in the air like that.
Yeah, it's a little scary going up. I did it with my sister, so I'm the oldest of 4, and I did it with. Maybe it was my middle sister, and the rest of our family was in the boat, and the part of the rope got stuck in a knot before we got off the ground. And my mom was in the boat like, oh my gosh, dear Jesus, please let my kids live. Like, I said yes to this. Well, my sister and I are like,
it's always good when we do that to our parents.
But it was so fun. It was absolutely worth it.
Yeah. I mean, I just think boating is the perfect activity. Yeah. Because it's just like, it's so much fun for everybody. You can just sit there on the boat if you want. You can go swimming. You can do like really athletic stuff if you want to go, water skiing. Like, it's just one of those activities that like any age and any activity level will have fun in.
Yes. Yeah.
You can go tubing. So fun.
Tubing.
I mean, it was always hard. I have 3 siblings that are much, much younger than me. And so it was always hard kind of coming up with stuff that like our whole family could do together that we would all like. Yeah. And so because you kind of had teenagers and little kids and so it was just a challenge. But boating was something that we just loved.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Maryland, so it was the Potomac was the main place that and
summers were gorgeous.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Great.
Yeah.
There was one time I went to the Chesapeake Bay and
cool.
Funny story. So this was when I was in junior high and middle school, and they had this contest that only like 10 students or something like got to go on this special trip canoeing on Chesapeake Bay. Oh my gosh, that sounds so fun because I love the water.
Yeah.
I always have. And I won. It was like the only time in my life I ever won anything. And then the trip ended up being a total nightmare.
Oh no, why?
The guy didn't know very well, like where, and then it just started to rain. And when it rains in Maryland, you just get bugs everywhere. And it was just, we were all like, just, I was like, I never want to win anything ever again.
I got my one. I'm good.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. So, so at one point you have to eat a dragon fruit.
Yes.
In the movie. And I was curious, what do you think? I hate it.
Hate it. Hate it. And everybody knew I hated it. So that scene was really tough. I have another blooper I can send you. I have to say shark diving expedition. I could not say it. Like, couldn't say it. I'll email you the clip. Shark diving exhibition, shark diving, whatever. Like, I couldn't. And it's literally, Rachel, it's like 10 minutes of a blooper of me.
My gosh.
And Jonathan is trying so hard not to break because I couldn't say shark diving expedition. So every time it was like, I'm scooping into the thing. I'm going to take a bite. Oh, I hate dragon fruit. Shark diving expedition. And I would ruin it. It was so.
That's funny. I mean, I don't think dragon fruit has that much flavor. It's just the texture is kind of weird.
It's like cantaloupe. Like, it's really, I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't like that.
That's funny.
That. Yeah. I'm a berry girl. I like berries.
I think that they did a good job in this movie of making Jonathan very swoon worthy.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. There was part of the way through filming, I said to my co-star Meg, I was like, I think I have a crush on Nate. Like, like his character and the way Jonathan is playing, like, it was so good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like, sometimes the male romantic leads are a little flat.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I thought,
they do the job, but they're not.
But they don't sparkle. And this one sparkled.
Yeah, he did. And it was just like, I felt like Brittany did a good job in her directing of always like holding the camera just like a few extra seconds on Jonathan to be like, yeah. You know?
Yeah, and that was something she really wanted. Is at the end, like, you look like Prince Charming when you smile. Give me that.
Yes.
That smile. That was all Brittany.
It's like in Sweet Home Alabama, there's this scene where it's pulling up on, I can't think of the lead's name all of a sudden, but anyway, pulling up on the guy and the camera just holds there and he's like, you know, and I'm like, thank you, director. Like that's moments when you know this person gets it. They understand what women want in these movies.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they're grown-up Disney movies.
Yes.
And I think that's why I love them.
Yes.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies.
Was that fun doing the tandem bike riding together?
Yeah. So they originally were like, we really want her to not be good at this. We want her to be very unathletic, whatever. And I was like, got it. Nailed it. Yeah, I can totally. So when you see the movie, it looks like Jenny can't ride a bike. Like, it looks like she never learned how to ride a bike. So I never actually rode the bike well. So the whole crew thought, oh, Ansley doesn't know how to ride a bike. And then baked with a kiss, Peyton, the way she gets around town is her cute little bike with her basket. And after I got the job, the executive producer called me and he was like, oh my gosh, you can't ride a bike. I was like, what are you talking about? I can totally ride a bike. And he was like, no, but Love on Retreat, you did. And I was like, I was acting. It's like, I can totally ride a bike.
That's funny.
Yeah.
You're like, well, I'm a good actress.
Great. I'm glad I told
it.
you.
Yeah.
I'm glad I told you.
But I think it would be a little bit, I would think doing the tandem would take a little practice because you have to do it together, right?
It was Jonathan leading. As long as I didn't fall over, I could have not pedaled in the bike with him.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I've never done that. Well, there's a scene where y'all are dancing and you have to do the octopus and the sprinkler. And I'm just curious if they told you what to do or you were just came up with on your own.
Made that up. So the octopus is my dance move. This is my like signature dance move. So when I read the script that like they dance and it's funny and whatever, Jonathan and I were in the gym the day before we filmed it, running lines, and I was like, I have a surprise for you. I have a surprise for you. And he was like, what is it? I was like, I'm not going to tell you. I'm just going to show you. And so when he drops to the ground in that scene, it's real because I didn't tell anybody I was going to do it. Like and the whole crew, they had to like mute the sound for a second because the whole crew busted out laughing. They were like, this little actress is doing the most ridiculous thing.
Yeah. Well, I wondered, did you have to do a lot of ADR in this movie? Because there's so much that's outside and by the beach.
Yeah, we did it. We did a decent amount of ADR. Yeah.
I wonder, that's got to be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I just do it like that's my closet, which is also my voiceover booth. I just go in there with a chair and a cup of tea, and I'm like, okay, I guess we're saying these lines again.
Yeah. A lot of people had developed closet like recording studios in the pandemic.
Yeah, I mean, it works.
Yeah, exactly. Well, very good. I enjoyed the movie. I thought it was cute. And so I think the Hallmarkies will really enjoy it. And it's this Sunday on UPTV. And all right, we like to end our interviews with some fun get to know you questions.
Right.
The first one is, what is the best ice cream flavor?
Okay, so it depends on my mood. If it's a weeknight, I feel like butter pecan. If it's a weekend, then mint chocolate chip. Mint chocolate chip just feels a little more celebratory.
Yeah. All right. What's your favorite color?
Olive green.
Oh, very good. Okay. What music are you into right now?
Ooh, I always like yacht rock kind of stuff, like Hall & Oates and Fleetwood Mac and anything that kind of feels like Laurel Canyon in the 60s or 70s.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Okay. What is your...
Oh, it's Taylor Swift. Oh my gosh. I was sacrilegious. Oh my gosh. Taylor Swift.
Okay. What era?
Oh, my queen.
All of them? All the eras?
Oh, this is terrible. I don't vibe with Evermore. It doesn't really work for me. My favorite is Lover. Yeah. Favorite is Lover. Second is 1989. Third is Reputation.
Oh, good. Okay, cool. I went to aside from Broadway, I am kind of out of it when it comes to music and in movie scores, movie soundtracks and current music. But I went to because it was like an event, you had to go. So I went and I maybe knew 4 songs.
What did it convert you? Are you a Swiftie now? Are you a Swiftie now?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it was a good time. I mean, I was amazed at how many songs she sung and just how complicated the choreography and the production and just everything. I mean, whoever spent the money to go to that tour got their money's worth.
Yeah. And she knew that. Like,
very impressive. Yeah.
Taylor Swift is one of those like icons of what I will never be, but would love to have the mindset of, like the way that she puts in the work into her art and her creativity is so beautiful and so cool. Like she's just such an artist who also is a great performer.
Yeah. The most I knew Taylor Swift was, and this is obviously not her fault, but I was so annoyed because she had a documentary that came to Sundance in 2020. This was before the closing. Anyway, and I had gotten what the time was called the Grand Pass, and you got 10 tickets. And for shows that played at the Grand, which was a venue at that time. And they had 2 of the 10 spots were the Taylor Swift documentary. And not only that, but it premiered on Netflix that week.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So I was very
But
irritated.
it's a really good documentary.
It's a good documentary, but I was just like, I didn't need to see this twice plus on Netflix.
Right. 19 times.
For my Sundance. But now she's won me back over.
Welcome to the Team Swiftie.
It was really fun, and it was just fun to be part of the room. Everybody was really excited and singing along and
So kind to each other. Like,
yeah,
I like that vibe.
It was great. All right. Well, what is your favorite go-to date night activity if you're going out and doing something?
Ooh, I love a tasting. So whether it's like olive oil or like cheeses or wine, like I like an experience of trying different things. Especially because I feel like growing up in Florida, I didn't have the biggest palate. So I like to go and taste different things.
Yeah, that is fun. I like that too. All right, which do you like better, dogs or cats?
Cats.
Oh, not that many cats, people. That's
I
good.
have cats. I mean, I love all animals. My goal is to have a rescue ranch one day, and I want to take in literally everything. It started with cats.
Yeah, cool. Okay, which do you like better, beaches or mountains?
That is a terrible question. I cannot answer that. I cannot.
You're from Florida. You're supposed to say beaches.
I know, but I live in Pasadena with the mountains, and I look at them out my window every day. Oh, I can't. They're tied. I can't. I can't.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Now, what is your favorite holiday to celebrate?
It used to be Thanksgiving. I think it might now be Christmas because my husband and I are like getting ready to start a family, and I have nieces and nephews, and it's just so magical with kids.
Yeah, definitely. It really is. It makes all the difference.
It's so, yeah. My niece Ayla is 2.5, and this last holiday season was just, I mean, because she's like, she knows now.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just so magical.
Yeah. All right. Last question. What is your favorite Hallmark or romantic movie?
Ooh. I want to pick a Hallmark one. Let me think. A Picture of Her with Rhiannon Fish.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I think I love Rhiannon. She was in my first Hallmark movie that I ever wrote, called When Love Springs. And I just became
I liked that one. Was if you listen to our non-Christmas Hallmark 2023 ranking, that one actually made my list.
Did it really?
Top 10, yeah.
Wait, thank you.
Yeah, I was not expecting, because they announced it kind of late, and so it wasn't part, at least I don't think, of the initial spring fever, whatever they call it now, and now a block, and so I was like, oh, this one's not going to be that good because it's just pick up, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun.
Thank you. I
Fake Fiance is always fun.
Yes.
Fake relationship. Yeah.
And Rhiannon's comedy is really good. And like we have kind of the same style.
Yeah.
And so she got it all. And I was watching the dailies and I texted her and was like, you're freaking nailing this, dude.
Yeah, she's a delight. We love her.
She's great.
Yeah, cool. Well, very good. You did it. You answered all the questions.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. This is so cool.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming on. This was your delight. And if people want to follow you on social media or that kind of stuff, how do they do that?
Just at Ansley Gordon. I'm not fancy. No fancy.
All right. We'll put all that in the description. And thanks again for coming on, talking with us.
Thank you.
To thank Ansley for coming on the podcast. This was really fun. I really enjoyed this interview, and check out the movie Love on Retreat. I think you'll have a good time with it, and follow her on all her socials and everything like that. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So check that out. Also make sure you're following the podcast at Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast, all of our social media. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. We really appreciate that. And if you are listening and watching on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Appreciate that so much. We also have the Patreon group, which is a lot of fun, and the merch store. So take a look at that. And thanks so much again to Ansley, and we'll talk to y'all later. Bye.